Today we're going to be learning how to do some resin casting. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to protect yourself and your area. We're going to be using epoxy resin, which is considerably a lot less odorous and a lot less of a hassle actually than using polyester resin. You'll be able to purchase epoxy resin from Tap Plastics and other places that sell hobby and craft type items. Michaels has carried it in the past, but their selection isn't as great, and they only carry very small bottles, if they carry epoxy resin at all. So your first step is you're going to want to cover your area. I don't know if you can see, but I have stained my area a couple times. I usually use an old cardboard cutout of some time of a box. Try to use something kind of thick, because otherwise if you do spill, it will leak to the other side, and you do not want that sticky mess all over your counter. Another thing you're going to want to make sure you protect is yourself. I use latex gloves. Make sure you protect your hands. These are most easily available. You can get these I think in the first aid aisle, but I know for sure that Home Depot sells them in their painting aisle. If you're allergic to latex, they do sell other things such as nitrile gloves, so you might want to look into that. So before I even start, I always put my gloves on, because you never know what you're going to get on your hands when you're setting your stuff up. So go ahead and do that. If you find the odors to be rather offensive to you, you might want to look into getting a mask. I do have one. This is what I use. I get it from work because I work in the chemistry department, so at my university, so they're really easier for me to obtain. But these are also sold in most paint aisles at Home Depot. So if you're concerned about it, you can get one of these, and you can also get a more protective mask if you feel the need to. I like to live on the edge, and I don't use a mask. So let's talk about some molds before we get started on the actual casting part. There are several different types of molds that I have used. You're welcome to experiment with your own techniques. For one, you've probably seen these type of molds. There's pre-made molds over at Michaels, created by Cast and Craft, which is also the company where we get our resins from. As you can see, there's some nice wells in here of different shapes. We have hearts, polygons, round things, you know, great for little gems and stuff if you want to make jewelry or for other costly needs. These are great because they're made out of polypropylene plastic, and you do not need to put mold release on these, so it's a great thing to have. Another type of mold that you can use is a latex mold. This is the latex mold builder that I was able to obtain at Michaels. It's a brush-on type of mold. They're not very sturdy, as you can see. They're pretty flimsy. Their detail retention is pretty good. It's good if you need to use in a pinch. You brush it on, and it takes a few hours to dry, or actually 15 minutes to dry between coats. So you can make one of these in the evening. I usually spend about a week making one of these molds. If you do make one of these molds, because they're not very sturdy, as you can see, you will need to build a mold holder. I made this out of plaster Paris. It just the mold sits in here so it doesn't, you know, make weird shapes. So you can find this at Michaels as well. The most preferred type of mold that I use, it's a rather expensive type of mold system, but it's from Tap Plastics. It's their silicone RTV system. As you can see, you can make some very elaborate molds. This is the one I use for my amulets here. The molds are very flexible. The detail retention is great. It's very easy to use, cures within about 30 minutes to an hour. I highly recommend it, but it is a little bit pricey. And the great thing is these last a lot longer than the latex molds. If you are making your own mold, it's a good idea to be using mold release, especially if you're using latex molds or any other thing that you find around the house to be used as a mold for your casting project. This will allow your object to come out more easily, or come out at all in some cases. It's a good idea to use this, because I've not used it a couple times and had casting projects stuck in the mold, and obviously had to recast it. You can find this at Michaels and Tap Plastics. It's very easy to spray it on, let it dry, and repeat a couple times, and you're good to go. So today we're going to be using epoxy resin put out by EasyCast. You can find this at Michael's, Tap Plastics. I'm not sure some other places on the East Coast that sells it, but I know those places for sure. You can get it off Tap Plastics website. I like this stuff because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. It's easy to use. You do 1 part of the resin and 1 part of the hardener, and that's pretty much it. Not a lot of odor, like I mentioned before, and it's very easy, quick casting time, and pretty much foolproof. Before you get started casting everything, you're going to want to heat up your resin, and don't put this in the microwave. I repeat, do not put it in the microwave. The easiest way to warm up your resin is to make a hot water bath in your sink or in a tub or something of that nature. I go into the kitchen, fill up the sink with some hot water, stick these guys in just like this, put the water up about to here because you don't want to get water in here. You have a huge mess and your resin will not be usable. Get it to where it feels kind of like warm bread, I guess is the best way to describe it. You can see, I don't know if you can see maybe in this one, if you can see, it's not, the viscosity is, there's not much as when it's cold. This helps in releasing bubbles and just easier to pour and to mix. To mix this in, you want to use graduated cups if you have them. Again, I get these from work. You can get graduated cups from Tap Plastics, a couple other places. I think someone's mentioned to me that Hobby Lobby sells these. They're pretty easy to use. You can use measuring cups if you really want to and put in another one. This is another one that I use. I reuse my stuff because I'm cheap and I like to throw them out. As you can see, this one has resin still in it, but I haven't had issues with it. Some people are particular, others aren't, but these ones are pretty clean. I wipe them out. Don't use soap and water when you're washing your stuff out. You'll have a really sticky mess and it'll be all over the place. Do not do it. If you have to clean something up with the resin, use a solvent such as acetone, 2-propanol, rubbing alcohol, stuff of that nature, which you can find, paint thinner type stuff, which you can find at Home Depot. So these are our containers. You're going to want to use stuff to mix it with. Make sure you have 2 containers because you have to double mix. Especially if you're doing different colors. That's why I have another one here because we're doing 2 different colors today. Some things you want to use to mix your stuff up in. I use chopsticks. This is a chopstick. I just broke it in half. I've used it a couple times. Again, I just wipe stuff off when I'm done and then just let it dry and let it harden. You can use straws. You can actually use, tongue depressors, popsicle sticks, whatever you can find. Just make sure it doesn't slough off into your resin because otherwise whatever sloughs off goes into your casting project. So let's go ahead. Oh, I want to make one more comment about dyes. Obviously some of you do not just want to have a clear piece of plastic. So these are some of the dyes that I've used. This one I've gotten at Douglas and Sturgis. It's my pink dye. My red dye leaks. This is why it's in a cup. So this is, red. I got this at Tap Plastics. These were the remnants of what I got from Michael's. Michael's sells a 3-pack of a yellow, blue, and a red. I think it's about $10. It's pretty good. I haven't had many problems with it. Colors turn out okay. Tap Plastics sells them individually for like $5. Reds, greens, yellows. I think they sell a black pigment, an opalescent pigment. Some really cool stuff. You can get really creative with it. And again, this is my pink. You can try to mix it. They say you can mix dyes. I have not been successful in the past. When I tried to mix green, this was my first product. As you can see, it's not green. So it's best if you can go out and buy the color that you need. You can make tints of colors by adding less dye. So if you want a really pale yellow, put less yellow in. You want a really deep yellow, put more yellow in. But blue and yellow dyes do not equal green necessarily.